All right, hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a really core question in behavior analysis. What is it that actually drives our actions, from one moment to the next? I mean, you've probably felt this, right? Think about it. After a long run, a simple glass of water seems like the most amazing thing on the planet. But then, right after you've chugged a bottle, you probably wouldn't even look at another one. So what changed? Well, the answer to that question lies in a concept called a motivating operation, or MO for short. You can think of it as the engine behind what we want and why we want it right now. Okay, so let's get the official textbook definition out of the way first. A motivating operation is an environmental variable that does two very specific jobs. It momentarily changes how effective something is as a reinforcer, like that water, and it also changes how often we'll actually do something to get it. Yeah, I know, that's a mouthful. So let's put it in simpler terms. Basically, a motivating operation changes what you want, and it changes how hard you're willing to work to get it. It's really all about the why now of our behavior. A really fantastic way to think about this is with a stereo analogy. Imagine your desires are like songs. The MO doesn't change the song itself, but it acts like the volume knob. It can turn your desire for something way, way up, or turn it all the way down to zero. So, every single MO has two distinct jobs it performs to control that volume knob. Let's break down exactly what those are. So, on one side, you have the value-altering effect. This is all about what's happening inside you. It changes your desire for something, what we call a reinforcer, like food or warmth. And on the other side, you have the behavior-altering effect. This is the part we can see. It's your action. Are you actually going to the kitchen to get food, or are you just sitting on the couch, completely uninterested? Okay, so if MOS are the volume knob, let's talk about the two directions you can turn it, up and down. This brings us to the two main types of MOS, establishing operations and abolishing operations. First up, let's turn that volume up. This is called an establishing operation, or an EO. An EO makes you want something more. It establishes its value as a reinforcer. A super clear example is food deprivation. If you haven't eaten all day, food becomes an incredibly powerful reinforcer, right? And that, in turn, evokes or brings out all the behaviors that have gotten you food in the past, like opening the fridge.
Here's a little trick to remember this one. Just think of EO as standing for extra obsessed. When an EO is in effect, you're temporarily, extra obsessed with getting that one specific thing.
Now for the flip side. Let's turn the volume down. These are abolishing operations, or AOs. An AO makes a reinforcer less valuable. So after you've just eaten a huge meal, that's what we call food satiation, the value of more food is pretty much abolished, at least for a while. And this abates or decreases any behavior related to getting more food. And the mnemonic for this one is just as easy. Think of AO as all out of interest. When an abolishing operation is happening, you're pretty much all out of interest in that specific reinforcer. So far, we've been talking about things that are mostly biological, right? Like hunger or thirst, but a lot of our motivations are way more complex because they're shaped by our life experiences. And that brings us to the idea of learned motivators, which are called conditioned motivating operations, or CMOs. So, unlike that innate feeling of hunger, CMOs are something we learn. They usually start out as totally neutral things, stuff in our environment that means nothing to us. But they get their power because they get associated with other, more primary motivators. Let's dig into the three main types. First, we have the surrogate CMO, or CMOS. This is when something totally neutral, like a sound or an object, starts to act as a stand-in or a surrogate for an MO it's been paired with. The classic example is a school bell that rings right before lunch. The bell itself can't feed you, but after being paired with hunger day after day, just hearing that bell can actually start to make you feel hungry. Next up is the reflexive CMO, or CMOR. You can think of this one as a warning signal. It's a stimulus that tells you something kind of bad or unpleasant is about to happen. For instance, if your teacher always gets a certain frown on their face right before handing out a really difficult worksheet, that frown becomes a CMOR. It motivates you to engage in escape or avoidance behavior, like suddenly you really, really need to go to the bathroom, right? And the third type is the transitive CMO, or CMOT. This one pops up when you need a tool to get something else that you want. Let's walk through it. Okay, step one.
And EO is in place. You're thirsty, so water is super valuable. Step 2, but there's a barrier. The water is in a locked fridge. Now, that barrier instantly creates a new motivation. Suddenly, the key to that fridge becomes incredibly valuable. The key, which was just a neutral piece of metal moments before, is now a powerful temporary reinforcer. It's the tool you need.
Okay, so with all these concepts, EOs, AOs, and the different CMOs, you now have a really powerful toolkit for understanding the why behind almost any behavior at any given moment. And here's a really simple way to put this toolkit into practice. When you're looking at a behavior, just ask yourself 2 questions. First, has the value of something, a reinforcer, changed? And second, has that change made a related behavior happen more often or less often? If the answer is yes to both, you're almost certainly looking at a motivating operation. And just to make sure all this really sticks, let's do a super quick review of those mnemonics. For EO, remember, extra obsessed, you want it more. For AO, it's all out of interest, you want it less. And we can even add a couple for the condition types. For CMOR, think run away, because it motivates you to avoid something. And for CMOT, just think tool needed. These are just great little shortcuts to have in your back pocket. So, to wrap this all up, let's make it personal. Take a second and think about it. What's motivating you right now? Is it the desire for knowledge? Are you motivated to finish this explainer? Or maybe you're getting thirsty and a glass of water is starting to sound pretty good. Whatever it is, that's your motivating operation at work.